welcome to the Leadership Push podcast. My name is Joshua Clay, and I'm so excited tonight because I have a special guest for you all. Her name is Dr. Crystal Gustin. She is from Lafayette, Louisiana. We are both mighty lions, so we'll have a little bit of that to talk about. But definitely just help me welcome Dr. Crystal Gustin to the show. And Dr. Crystal, how are you today?
I am good. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. So before we get into some of the questions I want to get into tonight, just tell the audience a little bit about yourself and just overall introduce yourself.
Okay. My name is Crystal Gustin. I'm from Lafayette, Louisiana. I've been practicing optometry here for 10 years. I have a practice with three optometrists here in town. We've been open for almost 30 years, and One of them is actually my sister and two other doctors. We do glasses, contacts, treat eye disease, and we are inside of the lens crafters in Acadiana Mall currently.
Yes, and Dr. Crystal, she is awesome. She actually saw me a couple times and basically told me I have bad eyes, but that's okay. No, but Dr. Crystal, just kind of tell us a little bit about what led you on the career path that you chose in optometry.
So I always wanted to do healthcare because I wanted the type of job where people or patients would come to me for my knowledge and expertise. And anybody who goes into healthcare also wants to do service. It's really selfless, and you just want to be in service of other people. Particularly optometry, I came across it because I needed glasses at a young age. In optometry school, I think the general population of children is like 30% needs vision correction. Optometry school, it's like 80% because most optometrists, that's how you knew or get exposed to it. On top of that, my sister, who's about 9 years older, she became an optometrist. She went to optometry school. And when she started working at the clinic that we both own now, I actually worked there as a technician. So I really worked my way from the bottom up. It was a great fit. I loved it. It was just exactly the type of healthcare that I wanted to be in. So after I graduated at LSU, I went and applied to Southern College of Optometry, is where I got my degree. And now we work together, and it's been wonderful. What I tell people is, the eyes are not only the windows to the soul, but our eyes are directly connected to our brains, and people's brains are very fascinating. There's kind of a psychological component to it that I really enjoy.
Yeah, definitely. So, of course, with any journey in life, especially, going from high school into college, into the path that you took, I'm sure it had some hurdles along the way. What are some of the challenges that maybe you face in life, and how did you overcome it?
Well, I think anyone who chooses to go into graduate or doctorate school has to really learn how to stay disciplined and motivated along the way and learn how to study. I think my education progressed more and more, and the academic side I got better at. I really think I didn't learn how to completely study, so I got to optometry school. But it's easy to get burned out on that. And so after school, between school and going to optometry school, I kind of just worked a little bit. And I think a lot of people find themselves in that situation where you maybe get burned out, or, for whatever reason, personal, financial, you just can't kind of keep going on that path. And at first it might be a relief, and it was for me, but it really gave me the motivation, kind of working just like an everyday job and, almost living check to check. It was really motivating that this is not where I wanted to be, but I do feel thankful for that time in my life, because I think it shows you, how you don't want to maybe provide for yourself and your family. And it gives you that motivation to kind of take that next step, even if it's harder, even if it's not easier, and, you could fail at it, but so I always feel really thankful for that time in my life. And even being a student, when you're living on really loans where you got to really scrimp and save, it kind of teaches you living. And I still feel that living on a budget and not wanting to have to, I want to not have that, worry, and I want to have financial security to provide for myself and my family. So I think just kind of a lot of people get stuck in that in-between place. Like, don't stay there, get out of that place, because the only person who's going to pull you out is just if you keep chasing your goals and your dreams. And me and my sister, we joke, like we were she tells me the story that she remembers when she first graduated, you know, and she went to the grocery store and she had a real job, and she went and bought feta cheese. And she thought it was such a splurge because, you know, feta cheese was like $5 for like a little thing. Kraft is like, you get a huge thing. So we always joke, like that first thing she bought was like feta cheese. Like I made it, you know. But I think, you know, just it's really important not to, you know, if you need a break, that's fine, but not to be stagnant. You know, use that time as a learning experience and stay motivated to keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. And I totally agree with that. And sometimes struggle, it really exposes sometimes to yourself, you know, what it is that you have the capability of doing, but then also the realization that, you know, that struggle that you feel in today is not something that you necessarily want to turn back to. So you're going to do everything you can to keep moving forward. And that's what it sounded like in your situation. You know, you appreciate what you went through and you realize that you want to keep pushing forward in life. But, you know, it sounds like your sister was a part of an inspiration to you. Who else was an inspiration to you along the way?
So the people who are just in my life who have been good for me is, you know, my family, my mom, my dad, my husband, first and foremost, is somebody that I've always been able to just rely on. He's my rock. And I think that you really need to find that person that's kind of like your yin to your yang.
Yeah.
You know, I can come home with a problem and think of like every possible worst case scenario. He's like, let's just solve the problem that's in front of us. And I don't think either way is really good to be. You know, you kind of need to be a little bit of both, manage everything, but also you can't worry about the what ifs. And he's really good at grounding me and keeping me kind of solid in that regards. You know, my colleagues and my mentors, you know, I think it's really important that, you know, whatever profession or field you go into, that you surround yourself with a group of people that you can rely on. I'm lucky in Lafayette that we've got a great group of optometrists that we all consider ourselves friends. We went to school together and we rely on each other. You know, we have a group messaging that we text patient cases back and forth, or a funny meme, or, you know, just kind of, hey, let's get together and do this. And it keeps, so if I have a question about something benign, like an insurance question, or something really serious, a case I don't know what's going on, I'll have like 5 people answer me back with, you know, within minutes. And that's super valuable. And it's nice that those are also the people that I can, you know, call friends, you know. And then my business partners too. You know, going into business is stressful, and going into business by yourself has a different layer of stress. But business partners, they're either like your saving grace or your most stressful. You know, because you got 4 opinions, 4, you know, ways of the way things should be done. But, you know, ultimately, when you pick those people that you know, we call ourselves like our spouses that we never would have married. You know, your work spouse, but you know, you ultimately, those people have to be the ones that like you rely on, you know. And I know that if for anything, if I needed anything, because we have like the same vision, the same goals, and you know, I also have looked up to them because, like I said, we've been in practice for 30 years. The doctor that started it retired, but all of us, it's just us. You know, we haven't had a high turnover because we're really, really passionate and want to do well, and we work well together. So if you can find that, that's great. It's hard to find.
Yeah, you're right. It is hard to find. And something that I hear a lot, Dr. Crystal, is this. You know, people tell me, Josh, I was able to network and build relationships and all this in the beginning, but then I got really busy and then I started losing those relationships. So one thing I want to ask you is what advice would you give to people to be able to maintain those relationships that they've built along the way?
So I think I think almost any field is going to have like professional organizations, local chapter societies, and I think that's absolutely valuable. I served as president for the Acadiana Optometry Society, and the experience that I got there, the networking that I got there, the mentors, it's just so important. And a lot of them you have to do continuing education, so you maybe meet up, you know, pretty frequently, or if you don't, make it happen. Get a group of people who do the same thing as you do, because whatever you do, your problems that you have practicing or working in Lafayette, Louisiana is going to be different than another city or state. So having people locally that you can turn to, if there is nothing established, do it. And one of the things that, even if you don't have like organized meetings or conventions, then just kind of go out of your way to try to get together. We've had just kind of like personal groups that would get together and talk about case studies. And now it's a little bit easier with kind of social media. You can have like your Facebook groups, join those. Those can be a valuable source of, if you're like the only one in your area doing what you do, then, get on social media and find like-minded individuals. And that gets you in contact with them. Keeping your personal relationships, I think we're all learning how to do that again.
I would agree.
With COVID, post-COVID, it's harder all around, but it's got to be important, because you can't just all be business all the time. You have to have that other, because what is it all worth if you don't have, the fun side of things? So even like with my friends, we try not to talk shop like all the time. You got to have like, okay, we're here for our kids' birthdays, we're here for this, and a good balance is just we're all striving for it. But I don't know, you can make it fun if you surround yourselves with the right people.
Yeah, I believe that. And you made me think about the Progressive commercial, right? When she's trying not to talk about insurance while they're at the beach. You've got to find a way just to be able to.
It's hard to do. I mean, it happens.
Yeah.
The husbands of their wives are like, or my sister at Christmas, we'll be in the corner, talking shop, and my mom's like, stop it. But a good balance of everything. And then another thing about getting involved with your professional organizations that I really found valuable was a lot of these, we need to be politically involved and civically involved, but particularly one thing that was eye-opening for me was these are the groups also that are going to be like if there's any lobbying efforts that are being done in for your profession or your field, you need to pay attention to that. And I didn't realize that. We have a saying, we're like, when you go to vote in an election, you're going to be Republican or Democrat, but sometimes you got to vote as an optocrat. What is this politician doing for optometry? And you have to pay attention to that, because if you don't, there's somebody else's maybe interest that before you know it, things change, and this is your livelihood, this is your patient service, this is the field you're in. And I think that goes across all fields, really, is you kind of have to pay attention to that together with. There's just always power in numbers. And it's also empowering that you feel like you have some say and some control, and you feel like you're just moving the ball forward. And especially if you love your profession, like if you talk to optometrists, they love it. I love it. Yeah. And it just makes you feel good when you're doing something good for your field or for a profession.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. So one of the goals of the Leadership Push podcast is to really help expose people to different leaders across different fields and services that we provide in this local area as well as in the country. So one of the things I wanted to ask you, Dr. Crystal, is what advice would you give to someone who's wanting to pursue the career that you're in, but they're a little nervous or a little scared, thinking that it's too overwhelming for them? What would you say to that person?
Well, like I said, first and foremost, you have to make school a priority. Find your niche in healthcare. There's a lot of different ways that you can be of service, but none of it is going to be necessarily easy. Nursing school, PA school, medical school, they're all, academics have to be a priority. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean you have to be a perfect student. You can go on your path and figure out where you are and switch that, because honestly, the students that are getting in and the graduates that are coming out, they aren't the 4.0. They want a well-rounded person. They want a person who did the volunteering in their community, who is involved in the community, who can, handle the academic load also, but also somebody who's just, is going to be a good provider, because there's a lot more to it than that, but there's both pieces of it. And then if for whatever you particularly want to do, absolutely contact, before I was a student, I shadowed doctors, I worked as a technician, get exposure in the field. I have students who come and watch me now, who come and shadow me now. And wow. I love being able to do that, because not only is it feeling of like paying it forward, but it's exposing people to a job that I absolutely love. Mm-hmm. And it can help, one of my colleagues, if I have a student coming from a particular part of the state and I have a friend who's hiring, well, I can give them that connection, and that student could have a job before they even come out, wow. So these are where you're going to start to make those connections beforehand. Graduate, everybody would love to be coming out of school and just like know where they're going from day one, and if you start working on that, and particularly people, if you find the right people, and it's just reaching out, the people who are passionate about it want it to continue, and they want it to be good, and they want to bring good people into the field. So I'm absolutely always excited when I get a student who wants to come and shadow me. And that's a good first place to start. Go and work for, start at the technical level, and just to see if you like it.
I'm so glad you said that you don't have to be, a straight A student, 4.0 student, because so many people think, oh man, I've got to be this perfect student. Mm-hmm. But no, if you can handle the workload in school and be a person that has a good heart and wants to serve people, mm-hmm. you can be successful at just about anything that you choose mm-hmm. to do, including optometry. So thank you so much for saying that. Now, you, Dr. Crystal, so you've been in practice for approximately 10 years, maybe a little bit more. What's next? What's the next step in your career?
So 10 years, wow, that's a long, and then 20 years out of high school.
Oh, Lord, don't say that, don't say that.
We're talking decades. No, so we are actually going to be moving our clinic and building our own facility. Okay. So we're very excited about this. We will be building our own optical space, our own clinic space, wow. And we are going to be doing it in conjunction with an ophthalmologist here in town named Dr. Kevin Swan. It's a great collaboration between ophthalmology and optometry. I would have to say, the truth of the matter is, years ago, ophthalmology and optometry, it was sometimes a contentious relationship, down to it. Sometimes people would look at it as a turf war. And that has changed, in the past 10, 15 years. The newer graduates, they're realizing, what are the valuable services and the skill sets that each of these groups provide. And instead of looking at it as a turf war, how can we bring it together to serve our patients better? And that's absolutely what we're going to have over there, is just kind of all your eye care needs, all your health eye needs, all of your vision care needs in one area that's going to provide a higher quality and standard of care for patients in Lafayette, as well as just convenience. Dr. Swan is actually married to my oldest and best friend, Lauren Chapman Swan. Okay. She's also a Lafayette High graduate. Yes. And we've known each other for years. So it's been exciting. It's exciting for her, for us to be taking this next step together. And like I said, just to offer something that I think is going to be so valuable for our patients, and so exciting that it's just going to really be a great thing for the Lafayette area.
Now, it's one thing, to have friends on the side who support you. Then it's another whole thing entirely to actually go into business with friends. How is that coming along?
Well, I practice going into business with my sister. So I wouldn't recommend it for every relationship, but you have to navigate those personal and professional lines for sure. Yeah. And if you pick the right people to align yourself with, and you have a mutual respect for what the other side is going through, you can keep the relationship from devolving. Obviously, just because they're your friend doesn't mean you should go into business with them. There has to be a person that you look at their business selves and your your goals, your almost your mission statement, your vision of where whatever your practice business is going needs to align. Because even when all the stars align, there's still going to be problems. So from the get-go, you have to have kind of that, I see myself, you see that they're similar. And, you just got to keep things separate. So when we go to lunch, we try not to talk about just that. And, just like the same thing you would do, you have the business talks and the personal talks. But if you can make it work, you just have this team in your corner where both of our personal and professional goals, or all of our personal and professional goals, are the same. Because I want her to have a happy personal life, and I want our business to succeed, and she wants the same for me. And so it's just that extra layer of security that somebody else has your back in many different ways.
Yeah.
But
no.
I mean, to say, we have to just kind of, walk the line of how maybe we would approach things just a little bit, easier, because we don't want that to bleed into our personal relationship.
Yeah. And the attention and the care that you give to it, is so important, that you, like you said, keep those lines separate, but then also to understand that at times, it may not be all roses, but the love that y'all have for each other as friends and as family members is just gonna, go beyond anything in your business relationship. So the next thing I wanted to ask you, Dr. Crystal, is this. Stepping out of your comfort zone is not something that's easy for people to do. And of course, you have the security of right now being in a practice that you've been in for a while. So what made you decide that now is the time for you to step out of your comfort zone and take on this new endeavor in your career?
So one of the things that I really liked about optometry was the degrees of autonomy that it provided. You could own your own practice, you could work for somebody, you could work in a VA system. There's a lot of different degrees. You didn't just have to go out on your own, or you didn't just have to work for somebody. At this point, there was a lot of little things. There's kind of signs saying that this is probably the right decision. You don't get to sometimes make all of the decisions that you think would be the best and benefit your patients. You don't get to just quickly move on your feet to make a decision. I kind of sometimes call it, you can get caught in the cogs of corporate machinery when a decision has to be made, and if it's your own place, you have a lot more freedom. And I think just kind of realizing that and maybe feeling like that was kind of what would allow us to provide better patient care. And then a big thing about it was when COVID hit and when quarantines hit, a lot of our decisions were mandated by the government. Everybody was taken away, just how they wanted to do things. But particularly, we were kind of in a double whammy with that, in that we had another entity kind of also calling the shots. I don't think anybody, and if you talk to kind of any financial, advisor or your accountant, anybody is going to say it's scary, but, real estate investment is just investment back into our practice. It's investment into the future of where we're going. And it's just really putting down those roots in the city of Lafayette. It's like, we weren't going anywhere. Why not make it like absolute, that we are here to stay, and be able to make it what we want. And so that was kind of what, it was a little, and you can't just come out the gate doing that sometimes, you got to learn little lessons here and there. And when you feel like you've gotten enough to maybe take that next step, there's never going to be a right time. There's never a right time for anything. There's never a right time to have a baby. There's never a right time to go to Europe. There's never a right, there's going to be your pros and cons list, but then I'm a true believer that you kind of have to do your research enough, but you can't sit on it forever. You also have to make the decision at one point. But I feel like you have to do enough where you feel like you can look back on that decision and say, with the information that I gave myself, I couldn't have made any other decision. And one of the lessons I've learned is like, you can do as much research, you can think you've got your spreadsheets down, Well, after 2020 and COVID, I mean, I'm just going to keep the book is open for what can happen, So, I mean, you can prepare for the worst and hope for the best, but I mean, anything can really happen.
Mm-hmm. I heard this quote once. It said, a person who has a vision but doesn't move is just dreaming. So I want to ask you a question. Now, I'm kind of going off a little bit, but I really believe that everybody has to have a why in their career, a why in their family, a why just for their life. So, Dr. Crystal, what is your why?
So I want to, when a patient comes in, they probably come in for their annual exam. People come in every year, 2 years, 10 years, if they're, I every day try to tell myself that, and that I want that experience to be an experience they remember. That was that one time over a whole year. I do my eye exams over the day, over and over. But I have to remember that when that patient comes in and it's something as important as their vision, that's their one time seeing me in several years, and I have to make it matter for them. I want them to walk away remembering that. And I want to walk away from I want to feel proud of the service that I give to them and the care that I give to them. And, when one of the things of moving our facility and our clinic is just, I want to go there and just say, I am proud that this is what I'm giving people. I'm putting my blood, sweat, and tears, and I'm going to give my best to the people who trust me, because they don't have to. They can go anywhere. And you always have to feel humble that they chose you, and, give them the best version of myself, the best that I have to offer, and the best care, facility, everything that I can, because they don't do it. They're not going to see me very often, and they can go anywhere. And I want that to come back to me, because that only is going to make me happy, but that's what provides for my family and provides for, what my passion is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's so amazing. And the thing about it is, first I thought you was talking to me because I only go maybe once every 5 years, but but that's okay. But no, but I really want to know, and so you are selling me on it, but you're also encouraging other people who are listening to what's the importance of really doing those eye exams and making sure that you are really checking on your eyes and making sure they're healthy.
So, a lot of symptoms from eye exams can go, oh, I'm just getting headaches. It can just be something very mild and subtle to something very serious. Your eyes are, if you took a survey, and I think there's multiple surveys out there, what would be the sense you don't want to lose? I think your vision is going to be really high up there. And we're using our eyes so much more. We're on computers, we're on devices. And the fact that if you aren't able to do those things, adequately and well, you're not going to have a good quality of life. Apart from eye diseases, some of these things are really insidious. Glaucoma, macular degeneration, those things sometimes, until it's too late, you don't know that you have it. And then just being able to take care of, yourself from top to bottom, your vision in your eyes is a huge part of that. There's a lot of things that can be prevented, a lot of high health issues that can be prevented. It's not just, oh, well, I want to be able to see, but sometimes we can catch pretty serious things, diabetes. I've sent a patient straight to the ER, and he ended up having a tumor in his brain,
Oh, wow.
That's not the everyday. But, for something that's so simple, so easy, that's only just going to benefit you, it's just so important that you get them checked, because it's just going to improve your quality in life, potentially save your vision, and also allow you to do the things that you want to easier. If you find that your child sometimes is not listening in school or having trouble paying attention, sometimes it's a vision issue. Kind of ruling that out is helpful.
Yeah.
So I just, very important annual eye exam. Even if you feel like you don't need anything, it's just always good to check the health of your eyes.
Yeah, that's so good. And I hope people listening, they are actually truly listening and going to take action and really go see Dr. Crystal or any optometrists out there, to be sure that they are checking on their eyes. It's so important. And one thing for me that I didn't realize, and you showed me when I went to see you some time ago, was, wow, I didn't realize how much I couldn't really see, until you showed me the possibility. So no, it's so important. But
none so blind that those who cannot see.
So as we kind of bring this to a close, I really want to end with this because I really love, the heart that you really share through this, and, your love of service and really giving attention to the people, the patients that you're seeing. So I want you to speak to other doctors in the same field that you're in who kind of, have gotten into the motions of things, and, maybe they're tired and they just need some encouragement. I just want you to kind of share something that you feel from your heart that you feel is going to impact them and just encourage them in this particular moment.
It's very easy to do, and I think we all will get caught up in that. One or two, we say it throughout the day, but you just kind of have to come back to the place that this is a person who could be scared, could be worried, who doesn't want to hear bad news or had a bad day, just anything. And just, if you could be that person that makes this experience something that they walk away with, just even in a better mood, just kind of go back to the place where you get the enjoyment from that. A lot of our job is just insurance and diagnosis codes and, the reimbursable rates and get this cut and not doing this. And that can just really kind of weigh heavy on your shoulders. But if you just go back to those, just walk out into your optical for that 10-year-old, -3, can't see. She puts on her glasses and just like lights up.
Wow.
Everybody can remember that patient, and they can go out and they'll find that patient on their book. I guarantee you, any day of the week. And it just brings you back to why we do this. Absolutely.
So Dr. Crystal, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you joining the show today.
So good to see you. Thank you so much for the opportunity. It was so nice. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're so welcome. So guys, this has been the Leadership Push podcast. Definitely, if you don't mind, please share, like, and subscribe. God bless.